Hello and welcome to the last session of our Free from the Yoke session, which has had a number of hurdles. First quarter of 2021 has been a delightful roadmap of potholes. And we are taking up in the wake of a major set piece last time that saw both the Kraken and the Leviathan on screen and great battle damage across the board. But we'll come back to what that means and with the characters and so on here in just a moment. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this session is part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. This is the final session of our Free from the Yoke series. We're going to hard frame some things today and look at where we want to get so that we can kind of wrap up the story today. What I want to do is look and have everybody reintroduce their character or introduce their character as the case may be, and see where everyone is at. So Brian, let's start with the envoys and with Ziv.
I'm Brian, he, him, and I am playing Ambassador Ziv, they, them, of the envoys of the Umod Alliance. The Umod Alliance is a federation of nations that are allied together, and if they could ever stop competing with each other, maybe they'd be a major force in the world. But here in the land, they're represented by the envoys, and most recently Ziv sent their son to apprentice, I guess is the term, to yes. Like the spy master, the shadow of the
Arbiter's shadow.
The Arbiter's shadow, yes.
Absolutely, and he was very pleased. But in return, you got some movement on your position. So right now, the doom track for the project is at 3 ticks versus the 2 ticks that it is for progress. Next, let's come to our Master of the Rune and see where Stonia is at and your house. Stonia, are you still around in the wake of last time?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I'm gonna keep her around, I think. She's I guess left-handed now. She lost an arm last time. I guess dealing with the Kraken over there. Mm-hmm. Buying a few, I think, seconds or minutes hesitation.
The call for hospitality that,
exactly.
that you did, that invocation of that. Do you think your role within the house will be the same after this, or has that changed yet, or will it change, do you think?
I think I sort of forgot this was going to be a finale, and I was sort of thinking that her, especially after maybe she's not going on field missions as much with mm-hmm. this injury, at least for a while, I think especially this might have gotten her enough votes or whatever to get this higher in rank.
Okay. So might actually be something closer to a champion or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll think on about that. And then last but not least, we saw the passing, not death, but the passing on, retirement, right? It's the best way to put it, of a great seaman. So Sam, tell us about your character, who they are now, and what they are like.
Sure, yeah. My name is Sam Zerman. I use he, him pronouns, and I am playing as members of the Cult of the Kraken, who are once basically pirates at one point in history. Now they've diversified into mercantile and shipping and troop transport and whatever kind of ship work needs doing and people are willing to pay for. But during our last session, the character that I was playing, Pervold, managed to do something in terms of like protecting the ocean rune of the depths and the ocean rune of the shallows, separating those two forces and keeping the balance in some ways, I guess. And so we have in that scuffle, Pervold lost and I believe a leg, and the majority of his willingness to continue going out on these kind of missions. He's getting on in years, and so was like, okay, this is the last straw. I'm not going out on any of these stupid boats anymore. Because he was never a sailor. He was a boatwright, a shipwright, and so he's more than happy to stay on land and kind of settle down a little bit. And so instead, I will be playing as Radoy, who is a bogatir. He is one of these kind of young upstart captains who are kind of pissed off that the fate hasn't gone their way. My thought is that they have the role that I picked is the rogue. Mark when you ignore your house's interest to pursue vengeance. I think that they are pissed off that this compact of the roads is gaining popularity. Maybe they lost a few jobs or contracts to them, and so they are out for vengeance.
Nice. Don't forget, as a member of the Cult of Kraken, you get to add 1 to either your might or bravery.
So I was working my way through all this stuff.
All the many steps that there are.
Yep.
So what do you imagine? Do you know Stoinia? Do you know Ziv? Do you know either of them?
I feel like as a captain, Radoy has probably been at least communicative with a lot of the other major people. He is about Stoinia's age, and so would probably be a peer, if not like helped at some point during your travels. I'm not sure. I feel like Ziv, being part of the Umod Alliance, you have a lot of dealings with like trying to get back and forth and dealing with captains, and so it's very possible that we've had communication, if not been particularly close on anything.
Was Radoy among those captains who were sent to Umod to quote unquote pick up troops, and then it turned out not to be troops?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that it explains part of why he's not super happy with the whole thing.
Okay. For a captain for a little while now, right?
I think he's kind of green as a captain. Okay. Maybe in the last year, 2 years.
Okay.
I like that. So let me ask this. Stoinia, Radoy, the scene to go out to the Lost City to recover these runes and do this thing was kind of your spark for that. Now, I can see a couple of ways that this could roll out on land. On the one hand, it could be progress, read as progress for the war, in the sense that this did damage to what the forces the Kingdom of Drago could bring to bear. On the other hand, I could also see it as doom against the war, in the sense that Drago is hobbled, there's less need to pursue this. or that this illustrates the threat of this Kraken cultist that the finger had been pointed at last time. Do you have a strong feeling either way on that, Stonia? In the sense that, and while I know that our fine Kraken cult will have some words to this, but you are kind of the voice of how this gets expressed when it comes back, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Let's see. To refresh my memory, I think we did heal the runes, right? Or at least we separated them.
You got them so they were no longer in the control of the Kingdom of Drago.
Yeah, I think then, at least from Stonia's perspective, this was a victory. It may not be important to the war effort in particular, but
so a victory. So do you think that this supports the Arbiter's push for war?
Yeah, I guess I would. I think you said it's more doom if it's they can't really put up a adequate fight.
Yeah, that they're no longer a threat.
Yeah, I'm thinking more along those lines.
Okay.
Sam, we took out some amount of ships, at least. I don't know if entire navy or what.
Sam, do you think that fits with your conception of how that might get read? Or do you think that you're pushing the other direction when your captain, your character returns back home?
I think that Firebird as a character is very much pushing for like trying to reunify the kingdom, put people back, like kind of push off this threat that Firebird has seen what Drago can do if they are left unattended, and so we need to deal with it before they try this again, type thing.
I think that's fair. So here is what I'm going to do. I am going to not split the difference, but I think double the difference, and I'm going to put a tick on both sides of that clock. I'm going to put a tick on progress and a tick on doom, because I think that represents what is happening there. So let us move forward. Some time has passed, a little bit of healing for Stonia, the sort of the changing of the guard within the cult. Ziv, news of all of this has come to you in the course of this. And we take up at another one of these gatherings, this courts there at the behest of the Arbiter, this time to give honor to the work and the sacrifice that the Cult of the Kraken has made. The gathering is actually happening in the shipwright stead, that area there outside. Again, the Arbiter, a little bit older, maybe not necessarily a little bit wiser, but Oksana, it still holds power there within the kingdom. Some of the rituals that go on, that kind of ritual melee, and the battles and the trials, those have probably gotten a little more bloodless over time. Some of the fires have maybe burned out in terms of having that. So there's still, it's more like a big rugby game at this point, rather than, I think, people getting murdered. There's probably still some trials that go on for the condemned to go through that, but it's maybe a little more formally organized. What's another thing, Brian, that we see at this gathering that maybe tells us that something has changed in the kingdom, that processes are evolved, or different people are in power or something? What do you think that would be?
Interesting. Well, I mean, for like these spectacles, the sports, like the arrangement of the seatings for the different houses has definitely shifted. You know, like in the early days, the old nobility are kind of like on the, you know, apology tour for being associated with the empire, versus like you know, some of the other factions were clearly very close to the Arbiter. And yeah, that's definitely, yeah, you could see, you know, by proximity to the Arbiter, who's kind of on the rise versus doing poorly. That kind of.
Perfect. So we probably see more of the merchants and those kinds of like the compact of the roads and so on. Stonia, what is the thing that we see that tells us that maybe people are taking the idea of the runes as a thing more seriously now that tales have come back about Kraken? You know, there was the rune of defense that protected the aqueduct. A lot of this has now gotten sort of into the public consciousness. So how do we see that here?
Interesting. Oh, you know, it'd be really interesting. Maybe it's kind of gotten to the populace, like even commoners, but especially like nobles have gone to maybe it's like kind of a sort of a fashionable thing to I'm thinking like, you know, Ash Sunday thing where you have like the cross on your forehead, but they do like, oh, here's the rune for like loyalty, or like here's the rune for peace that they put in like chalk or some kind of ash or something. And the nobles, of course, it's like very, you know, like almost henna style, like,
oh yeah,
oh, this will be there for like a week.
Gold leaf and henna on that. Okay, very nice. Very nice that we see the vocabulary of that spreading out amongst the people. And Sam, what has the cult of the Kraken done to kind of make this gathering particularly impressive?
I think that the thing that the cult has done to make this particularly impressive is the venue itself. I think that the melee is inside the broken skull of one of these enormous ocean beasts that we used to like. We used to have the Leviathan pens type thing. And so maybe one of these massive skulls is the tourney grounds.
Oh, very nice. That sort of, it has perfect acoustics on the inside, terrifyingly. Yeah, I think that is awesome. Now we're going to go through and we're going to do the holding court move. And then once we've kind of resolved that, then we'll do a cross scening, maybe bring the three of you together just to have that conversation. So Ziv, your holding court is a little bit different, but why don't you go ahead and roll?
What is the?
Hold the roller.
I've got it.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember. So that's a 9, and is there a modifier on that?
What's your favor?
I think that's +2.
+2. So this is positive. Again, as an envoy at you're respected in the court, and you get to pick 2 from your not from here lists for gaining that favor.
Okay, you may make a lucrative deal, swap one surplus for another. You turn someone within the regime into your asset. You hold a private meeting with someone no one else will know. Hear a rumor about events in the nation that bear further investigation. I pick 2. I guess, well, I'll hear a rumor about events in the nation that bear further investigation, for one.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know that there's any particular asset I need. So I guess, who would I want a private meeting with? Nothing really comes to mind. So I guess I will turn someone within the regime into my asset.
So what kind of position, what kind of person do you think the spouse of the arbiter, someone as a lord of a city, the general? What do you think?
I think so some kind of like I think I want it to be more on the lore side, the spiritual side, because that's kind of the Ziv's blind spot. So
Absolutely. There is a figure, Aznaran, who is the person from the church, who is the spiritual advisor for the arbiter. And he is, Aznaran is really unhappy because of all of this. I don't want to say pagan, but pagan ritual going around about the runes. This is low animism. Base
don't people leave the runes to us and charge these people thinking like they can directly.
They don't understand how important the uncreated fire is for the nature of the world, but you understand, Ziv. You understand that. And essentially he is easy to be plied with some goods, some wine, some conversation support, and you have a strong sense that Azaran will back you. The other thing you will hear is we still don't have a name. We've just called it Rich Veins. But that town that you had heard with the mines that had been kind of maybe a little bit in collusion with some of the ungood Kraken folk, that with the disruption of those magics that occurred with the reclaiming of the ocean runes, that they have abandoned Rich Veins, and essentially that town has lost some of its support, and instead is getting pressured by the people from the Red Forest who are moving through there and are kind of now like staking a claim for dominance and causing them problems. Does that seem fair?
Sounds great.
Stonia, let us come to our Keepers of the Old Runes. You remain at a +2. The Arbiter still loves your house. Let us have you roll.
Yeah, let's see if I have a move where if I butter them up or something, I get advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I laud them, I guess that's a better way to say it.
Yeah, butter them up.
Something like that.
Yeah. So how does your house laud or condemn the Arbiter?
Yeah, I think, and it's definitely probably not, or it's definitely not Stonia saying this, but I think the elder, whichever elder was sent there, probably one at a time, kind of makes this grand speech about, and look at everyone's face here with finally like understanding the importance and the respect of the runes, and just in everyone's heart and on their minds specifically. Like, look what the Arbiter has done for us, and we're getting so much closer to the land.
Excellent. Let's have you roll that with advantage.
And this is plus favor, right?
Yes.
Okay. It should be pretty.
There's
good for
almost no
me.
chance you could fail.
Yeah. Although you say that, but let's see.
Look at that. So that looks like that's a 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure this out. Yeah.
Yeah, those mid-range rolls is always going to be what kills you. So, Stonia, you are in particular asked to come in to speak privately with the Arbiter and tell the Arbiter the full story of what occurred. And the Arbiter listens closely to that. And the Arbiter says, this is your work has been magnificent, and you have surely pushed the progress of our works forward. You have done much for us, Stonia, and I have made it clear to the keepers how much esteem I hold you in. Whatever you need, will aid you in. She waits for you to thank her.
Oh yeah, of course. I think, yeah, and she, yeah, of course, does the, I guess, bow or the equivalent.
Now, I have a question of a more perhaps a personal nature that you can maybe assist me with.
She kind of raises an eyebrow.
I know that you and Ambassador Ziv have traveled together and fought alongside one another. You were instrumental in retrieving the ambassador's family and finding them a secure place here.
And she, I think you can see the gears moving, like, what is she talking about? What's she getting? But she's like, yes, of course. Ziv and I go back since to our adolescence. I owe them so much. I'm only beginning to repay it.
And I have the utmost respect for Ambassador Ziv. They are certainly in my favor. But I have sensed a certain reluctance, perhaps, on their part, a lack of perhaps enthusiastic support for the war effort. I would like to see what you can do to convince them to support the war more actively and more energetically. Will you do that for me?
I think she does hesitate for a moment. She says, no, of course, anything. You're just doing me a favor. I'm able to talk to my good friend again.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. And you are dismissed. All right, Sam, it is time for our Cult of the Kraken to come before the Arbiter.
All right. Oh, so my favor is still at +1.
Yeah.
So I will roll 2d6 +1. That is a 10.
That is a 10. The Arbiter, like when the Cult of the Kraken, when it brought in, there's great fanfare. There, a trumpeting that is done, and the entourage that comes. Do you think that that Radoy is amongst the group that comes to speak to the Arbiter? Or is that not quite Radoy's scene?
I don't think that's quite his shtick.
Okay.
I think he's probably in the procession, and he's like, he's wearing much more flamboyant clothes than you would normally expect from a Cult of the Kraken member. He's like very much playing up this position that he has. Most of the other members of the cult don't like him for it, but and so I think he gets kind of cut out from the key negotiations or the main discussion.
Arbiter says, I wish for the Cult of the Kraken to take command of the ships that we have been preparing, investing for the war effort. Take that, and I wish you to harry the waters offshore of Drago.
You have asked a fish to swim.
Yes, but I have asked a fish not to sacrifice their own scales. You have ours to put at risk, and but with your captains and the what we've been able to craft so far, we believe that we can certainly, how do I put this, send them hiding back to their holes.
I think this is most amenable.
And I think we cut from there. I would like to imagine that, Stonia, you do know, as we've said, you do know Radoy. And Radoy, this is probably the first time you've seen Stonia since they returned and since they were so badly injured. What's I mean, we is it the whole arm, or is it just the hand, or what? How much is lost there, Stonia?
Yeah, I'm thinking that this, I don't know if it's the keepers in particular, but I think there's some kind of a I don't know, tradition that she's taken part of, especially formally, where she has this big robe on, but from where her lost arm would be is like this really elaborate, I feel like a rope almost. It comes down. It's like, it's like not trying to even approximate what an arm would look like, but it's almost like, what an extravagant thing in its place,
braided and beautiful. And
yeah.
Okay. So Radoy, you see Stonia.
Is this in the middle of this celebration
This
ritual thing
is,
that you're working on, or?
I assume this is at the gathering. Well, after people have met at the courts and things like that.
Okay. I think Radoy would come up to you. This is the first time that maybe you've seen him as a captain as well. And so he hails you and comes striding up very confidently. Our valiant hero. Look at you, all dressed up in your finery.
Oh, is there real quick? Is there any kind of a signifier that you're a captain,
Um,
like a captain hat equivalent, I guess?
I think it's the fact that he is wearing a necklace that has like a vial of seawater.
Oh, I love that. Very cool. So yeah, I think she just does the, not fake, but like putting on the airs, like, oh, I'm bowing to you. She says, oh well, I could say the same about you, and she gestures to the vial.
Oh, this, and he kind of like does the, oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Even though he's like showing it to you. And,
she's like, yeah, oh no, I hope no one's calling me a hero. It was mostly just swimming and surviving, but it was quite the tale.
that is what serves as heroics for most of us sailors. So got one up on us. By the way, we do have quite a long history of replacing limbs. If you were ever interested in the services of the Kraken, I'm sure that we would be more than willing to set you up with one of our elaborate replacements, as it were.
And I think she kind of just like holds that braid for a second, and just like, oh, maybe she does like pull up and like look at it like in her hand, She says, no, I think I appreciate the reminder of taking the runes for granted.
It would be much more functional than a piece of rope.
Well, you might be right about that.
Well, suit yourself.
And Sonia, as you're talking to her door, I think you will see Ambassador Ziv is finished up with someone and has come out, and you catch his eye, and he sees you. Probably haven't seen each other for some months, and certainly not since all of this went down. Do you think it's Stonia that calls Ziv over? Or does Ziv, do you go over to where Stonia is?
Yeah, if I spot Stonia, I would definitely go say hello. I have a thought that maybe Radoy somewhat knows my son. Like, I'm thinking my son, along with a couple of cousins, probably went back to Umot at some point, like as a teenager, spent a good chunk of a year there, and then had to come back. And so maybe you met Ziv's son on the trip there and back.
What's his name?
Maybe before you were a captain.
Noam.
No.
Yeah. So Radoy, you see the Ambassador Ziv, who you've met.
So maybe they haven't even met, but the Ziv would recognize the name, because Ziv, I'm sure, has a ridiculous list of names that they've committed to memory.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, my son, spoke of you, but you weren't a captain at the time. Congratulations.
No, your son provided us with great merriment when he got drunk one night and started singing songs. He's a lovely voice.
I'm sure when children get some distance from their parents, they waste no time in taking advantage.
I think Sonia says, oh, at least there's one thing that he hasn't inherited.
Yes, his singing voice is from his mother.
I have more things to thank you for, I suppose. Our glorious benefactor. I was expecting a ship full of soldiers, and I ended up coming back with a ship full of wood. You wouldn't have anything to do with this, would you?
Well, there are many uses for ships, I suppose. Yes, we did have need of to send some cargo to Moat.
Yes, I'm sure the arbiter will be very thrilled at the transport of oaken planks. Very pointedly stares at Ziv.
Yes, the arbiter has control of a great many things, but not all things can serve her purposes at all times. Even as powerful as she is.
But enough business. Where the celebration? I'll leave you two alone. I'll go get some drinks and I'll be back.
Yes, Stoina, from what I understand, quite a successful, if costly venture.
Oh, yeah. Interesting for sure. Well, and then she looks back like at her missing arm, like, well, I'm dictating the histories, still figuring out the writing part. But yeah, I can't wait for this war to be over.
Indeed. Now, the rumors, there's no shortage of the various rumors swirling of exactly what happened. What I've heard is it was some type of alliance between Drago and these Kraken worshippers.
Well, that's what it seemed like. I'm no, politician. I couldn't say for sure, but especially in all the chaos. And I'm actually glad you bring up rumors, because she kind of looks around like, maybe when we're more alone, I can tell you some rumors I've been hearing too. But yeah, why do you ask?
Well, I mean, it's just quite alarming to hear. I mean, the Kingdom of Drago, they've been a threat to the south for a long time, but these Kraken worshippers, they're already here in the land.
Well, yeah, I fear it's a similar situation to what happened in the Red Forest. Looks like people are trying to bend and break these runes for their own purposes.
Now,
and I don't know how.
Don't go telling people this, but my understanding is those dark forces in the Red Forest and the Kraken worshippers in the north, that is an alliance for certain.
Her eyes just get big. What?
I know, right?
Well, that's especially bad. That almost pales in comparison to the I don't know, unfortunate rumors I've been hearing. Just like, and of a more personal nature too. She's like, I don't know. Are we I'm assuming we're in like a tavern or something?
Imagine that there's a place with lots of like places set out for feasting and so on, and you can probably find yourself a reasonably private area. Radoy is over getting drinks. We'll be back shortly.
Yeah, so I think Estonia might be maybe we should go over to this area and have a chat. Yeah, I think once she's convinced that no one is spying on us or anything, she says, I just had a conversation with the arbiter herself, on behalf of the keepers, of course, but she mentioned you. Have you been getting yourself into trouble again, Ziv?
I mean, the trouble seeks me out. No need to go searching, I don't think. Comes with the job.
She's like, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, when we were young, it was pretty bad, and I can only imagine the dangers grow year by year. But yeah, I think some folks are questioning your loyalty to the land, and if it's making the arbiter question it, then Ziv, this could be pretty dangerous. She specifically mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
My ultimate loyalty, of course, is to the Umod Alliance. That is who I serve. But I believe that what is good for the land is also what is good for Umod. The friendship between our people is to the advantage of both.
And I understand that. Absolutely, I do. But remember that for years now, you've been staying in the land, and the one who everyone answers to and all the guards and cutthroats answer to at the end of the day is going to be the arbiter. And if she starts questioning your loyalty, especially when there's wars going on, that's how people end up dead. So you got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and especially your families. And I think she puts her hand on your shoulder, her good hand. It's just like, you are looking out for yourself, right?
That is a fair question. I suppose I sometimes think too much about serving my position rather than caring for myself.
Radoy, you see Stonia and Ziv sort of in deep conversation. Do you approach to try and catch what's being said, or do you wait until you see an opportunity?
Oh yeah, no, Radoy is very curious about what's going on. And so I think this is the try and be quiet, and then when I get too close, make noise like I've always been trying to make noise. And
I think you probably catch from, and that's how people get killed. And then maybe a little bit further, are you watching out for yourself? And they seem to be talking something about some threat to Ziv.
I'm not too concerned about that, but such is life. So Radoy comes back and maybe slams the mugs of ale on the table next to the two of you, probably making everybody jump. We do make some very, very good ale, I have to say. It's been a while since I've been back home. I do miss it. What were we all talking about?
Well, I was just talking about how thirsty I was. She grabs one of these.
Cheers.
And maybe she'll make a cheers too, to our hells, and just keeps her eye on Ziv for a little extra second, before doing it.
And does that maybe feel like scene there? Yeah. Let's come back out. Actually, we're at the hour, so let's take 5. We'll come back and we'll do the once around for some house moves and then check in with everyone.
Hello. Is Sherry playing the new Monster Hunter?
Yes, she is. Well, she wasn't going to. She was like, oh, I don't know. It's on the Switch. I don't know how it'll be. And I bought a copy for myself and I put it in and I did the character creation process. And she saw the Palamute and the Palam. Oh, and she was like, maybe I'll try it. So I gave her that copy and I'm waiting for another copy to,
Oh, you're waiting
come.
for your own
Yeah.
copy?
Yes.
Oh, what a good husband.
But because we have two TVs, one on top of each other, so we can play in the same room.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it actually worked out really well. So when we were playing Monster Hunter World, it was fun. So I'm hoping that we'll get. Have you tried it?
I love it. I've played about 8 or 9 hours now over
Uh-huh.
the weekend. It's a blast.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. My niece like got up and they played it on Sunday from like 10 in the morning to like 9 at night, just all day. So I'm really looking forward to it.
It feels really clean and really polished. It's weirdly it feels smoother than World did. But yeah, so I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm looking forward to having a chance to sit down and really play that. And starting from ground one, the problem with Monster Hunter Iceborne was that we hadn't played for a while, so then we kind of had been out of the loop. This I will feel okay about starting from ground zero. So what I'd like to do is look at the house moves and go around doing that. Want to start with Ziv. Because you were the odd man out in the zoom in, and you will have advantage on this house move. So in the wake of the arbiters meeting and so on, and some suspicions being reported to you, what do you think that you would encourage your house to do here?
Well, let's see. Well, I mean, okay. Instead of sitting here quietly, let me think out loud. I mean, there's
Sure.
basically two things I want to do. I want to put the last doom tick on the project, because that's what I've been told I'm supposed to do, and I want to go take control of the rich veins.
Which one is more important to Ziv right now?
To Ziv, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't going to use that as my metric to decide, because they're both.
Sure.
I don't know that one is more important to Ziv or not. I guess I would just say whichever is more interesting.
Which goes first? Because timing becomes an issue in this. And
Right.
and then the question becomes, like, how do you put that tick? You've already leaked info, so that kind of avenue you've already used. But
Yeah, no, I mean, I haven't.
falling, opposing forces, killing the arbiter's agent. Interesting.
Yeah, I had an idea of using subterfuge to sabotage a particular asset in order to, I guess maybe a sediment falls could be the outcome from it. I'm imagining those. We had those mechanical rocks and our undead horsemen.
Yeah, the defenses that the horse clans have set up.
When we first saw them, those two were kind of opposing forces, right? The rocks and the horsemen.
Yeah, the rocks had been set to kind of watch over the area, and the undead were kind of a separate thing there.
But they're now working for together with
Thanks to the work of Stonia and others, they have been brought to bear. And
so I'm imagining if I'm sabotaging that asset, if I somehow leak to Drago the method of like hitting the reset on those rocks so that they, you know, turn on the undead horsemen and kind of neutralize that asset was the idea.
That seems like a plan. Is that what you wish to do?
Well,
I mean, here's a question of what when your house has to make a choice about which way it leans. What is the first thing? Is it seizing the resources, or is it putting the capstone on that?
I think the house's priority is filling the doom clock, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe it's not Ziv's top priority, but the house, that would be.
That is certainly the case. Now, my impression was, Estonia, that the keepers were not putting particular pressure on the envoys to how do I put this? Push against the war, or push for the war.
No, I think wisely or unwisely, Stonia left it upon herself.
All right. So no influence has been paid to try and push them in line. In that case, this seems like a subterfuge move. It is a simple roll of sleight with advantage because you have had time to plan this out. Look at that. You sabotage a particular asset, making it fail at a moment of your choosing. What is that moment?
Yeah, I mean, just taking the cue from a settlement falls. So I think right when, you know, a battle on some settlement on the border is about to begin.
You have told the people of Drago.
And I imagine we got this information through my new ally, maybe the what's his name, Osneron.
Oh,
because you know, I mean, this asset kind of you know, Stonia and the you know, keepers of the old runes are who kind of delivered this asset.
Interesting.
I wonder if his resentment is maybe what let's slip this information, and then the envoys just passed it on.
And I think that we'll see that, you know, on the field, maybe we see that figure, that sorcerer from Drago that we've seen before, who has manipulated things, who struck at the ships of the Kraken. I think we see him there, you know, as the defenses rise and the undead are there, you know, led by that figure from the House of the Horse Clans who sacrificed, you know, and took up the leadership. And I think we see that as that rise in the sorcerers, he casts, and those giant metal birds, huge, enormous metal birds, stop what they are doing, and descend on the troops below, and tear apart the defenders on the wall, the forces of the horse lords, the undead figures they can't do much to, as was before, but they will strike and pick clean that, and Drago will seize those southern defenses. And within days, there is news of this horrific development, and pushing from all sides that this war cannot be prosecuted as it is. And that will give us the last tick on that project. So when that happens, we immediately go to resolve things. So the resolution for open war. What is going to happen is the war is lost. Each player is going to choose one of the following things. Raiders from the other side pillage your holdings, gain need crops or need wealth, and change your lifestyle, but add 1 grasp as you make sure this isn't going to happen again. 2, your warriors were massacred. Take need recruits and lose a follower option, but gain a favor as the arbiter honors your sacrifice. 3, you fled the war front. Add 1 to sleight, but gain need prestige. 4, you raided stockpiles for your own use as the battle lines collapsed. Gain surplus weaponry and need prestige. Your enemies worked a strange ritual that twisted the land's power. Gain need attunement and mark the map with a terrible blight that even now remains present. Or, ironically, you are betrayed by one of your allies. Pick a faction you have influence on and say how they betrayed you. Lose that influence, but gain influence on 2 other factions who could have stopped them. I will let the others pick first, since you caused this cataclysm, Ziv. Stoinia, what do you think has happened?
Yeah, I'm tempted to do the Forsaken one, but I don't think I have influence on anybody.
You don't have influence? Let's see.
No, I was always bad at getting influence on people. But that's okay, because I think just as interesting was that one right before it, where the enemies worked a strange ritual.
Mm-hmm. What do you think they did?
Well, let's see. The question is, which rune did they mess up?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And let's see, they kind of we said that that main battle was in the Valley of Mists, that area.
Down the map here, between that sort of borderline that runs below the Valley of Mist is sort of that fortification line that was built there, the old defenses.
Let's see, what would be a good I'm trying to think of like a monkey's paw thing of, oh, we'll use this rune, but then it went too far or something.
Perhaps the rune for birds.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, what if they messed up the rune with for birds? What would be the twisting there in that area?
I feel now just kind of this is, I'm thinking of like a beacon. No pun intended. I just realized of every like bird, or even like maybe as time goes on, even anything with that can fly, just kind of going to this area and just kind of I feel almost like staying there, even like when it's clear it's unhealthy to be here. They're staying here to die. They starve to death, and there's no way that people can move in here. There's too many birds here, and birds from elsewhere in the world where they need birds are going without.
Yeah, it becomes what do they call it? Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah, I love that feather blight. That's really cool. Yeah, I love it.
So people avoid the feather blight. It becomes it is just the birds and the ghosts who cannot be affected by the birds left on the walls, and just falls in it. So you will gain that need attunement.
Oh, sorry. I think I have that already. So I think something special happens then, right?
You get to choose another need that you think would be an appropriate way to kind of represent what happened there. So let's look.
Okay, gotcha. Oh, I think I do get the recruits though, right? Or was it the beginning? I forget.
So you get need attunement, and you mark that, but you don't get any benefit from that one.
Yeah, I think we had the recruits coming. I forget if it was the next.
Yeah, they would have. They would have arrived this season, but
okay.
The envoys acted before you could.
Oh, I see. So I don't get those. Okay.
Well, you will get them. You don't ship them off. You actually have those recruits as a surplus.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And let me check one thing here. Okay. See resources. These indexes. Oh, anyway. So yeah. But so you get the recruits, and you'll have the need attunement. What do you think is an appropriate trade-off need? Let me look here. We've got those. Do you think it creates a need for crops? Perhaps, birds are certainly one of the pollinators, or morale, as you were unable to bring this to a stop before this could rise.
Yeah. I'm also I also have morale. So let's go with crops, which I have a surplus of, I guess.
Yeah. So particularly your area that needs that food, you have those lands there, and
okay. I have an interesting, because I have surplus crops, so maybe this is like the ant and the grasshopper thing.
Okay.
Just like, oh, of course, one day one of these runes are gonna, be co-opted by somebody else. So we had like stuff set away.
Okay.
So it cancels out, but the other people that aren't in the library perhaps are just like, oh my God, why aren't you sharing that with us?
And your granaries are depleted, but your people are not starving.
Right.
Sam, what do you think for your people?
Yeah, so I was thinking, the two that I was thinking, one was the blight thing that you already took, so I'm not going to do that one. The other one was, there was something about like raiding weapons caches, or like raiding the front lines, and I felt like that fit pretty well with what
you raided stockpiles for your own use as the battle lines collapsed. gain need surplus weaponry. Oh, sorry, gain surplus weaponry and need prestige.
I think that totally makes sense as these boats were already on their way to
Exactly.
the edge. And so as the battle lines collapse, they're like, okay, well, I got this boat. I've got a town that needs raiding. I might as well do the raid anyway.
Absolutely.
Who cares if we lost the war? I get stuff.
And what about for Ziv?
I think the one that makes the most sense is you fled the war front.
Add one slight, but gain
one
need
slight.
prestige.
Yeah.
All right. And now the Arbiter has some choices to make. So when a project fails, the Arbiter, let me find the page where it has that, makes some choices here. Find where those are at. When a project is doomed with an ED, doomed, pick one for each house with positive favor. I believe all of you have positive favor. Everyone gain need recruits. And I think the second one is that the Arbiter will lose a point of control. And let's see. And I think there is a dangerous new faction that has arisen within the house of the Arbiter at this point. It's unclear who it is, but there's certainly a figure in the shadows who seems to be maneuvering things. And those in the know will certainly point the finger back at Gia, the Arbiter's shadow, as perhaps maneuvering things to aim towards regime change, as it were. So when this happens, when we do a project and it is finished, we then also do a turning of the age. And this can be a short turning, it can be a long turning. We can decide how much further we want to move forward. And in a sense, this kind of gets us to how do we want to stage like the last few character scenes and put in place for our aftermath / epilogues, if that makes sense. When we turn the seasons, or turning of the ages rather, I have to find that in the book again. Okay. When the Arbiter's project is complete or its doom comes to pass, the age is over and we work through the resolution. So, Stonia, how did you manage the land? Did you tend for it, care for it, or did you neglect it or become estranged from it?
I feel she tried her hardest to help it out, but I don't know if she succeeded there.
Well, I think let's you talked about the crops. You worked on that. You kept that surplus. Let's give you that +1 on that. How did you treat the spirits? +1 if you sought their company and formed personal connections, or -1 if you feared them or used them as your tools.
I feel she ended up losing an arm because she tried to use them as her tools.
Oh, so
she has too much of them. Yeah.
And how has your house come together? +1 if you rediscovered old customs or found new ones. -1 if you spurned your community or descended into infighting.
Yeah. I feel that's got to be neutral to negative too.
Okay. So you're going to roll with a -1.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And so that's a 2 total.
Okay. So you have to pick 2 of the following things. Forget a ritual from your traditions. Add a new condition to all your rituals. Your land withers, gain need crops. Spirits haunt you, gain need attunement. Or you must commit yourself to overthrowing the arbiter.
Oof. Fascinating.
Choose 2.
Oh, 2. Oh my God. Even
Yes.
worse. I was like, okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess the crops make the most sense, although it's not the most exciting. But now they get to choose 2. That's a little better. So I'll choose that one at least.
Okay.
Um,
So your storehouses are emptied, and it gets worse.
mhm. I guess. Oh, and then so if we have a double need, we just pick something else to make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm gonna pick attunement again. But I think I'm gonna switch that to maybe prestige.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
as these runes are kind of going haywire, everyone's
People
looking
were
to the
loving
keepers.
it, and then
Yeah.
they've gone out of control. The keepers were not able to keep it in line. The church is like, look, tisk tisk, animism. Sam, let's walk through the cult. How did you manage the land? Did you tend and care for it, or did you neglect it or become estranged from it? Or it can also be just somewhere in the middle.
Does keeping the sea runes together or like imbalance
Perfect.
count as
Yeah,
tending to the land?
that was specifically done for that need to end that. So that's a +1. How did you treat the spirits? You sought out their company and formed personal connections, or you feared them or used them as tools.
I don't know that I necessarily feared them or used them as tools as
Yeah.
much as either neutral or like some amount of like, I guess, protecting the sea spirits type thing, but not a lot.
Yeah. So let's call that neutral. So and how has your house come together? Get +1 if you rediscovered old customs or found new ones. -1 if you spurned your community or descended into infighting.
Everybody's infighting.
Okay.
All the captains are out for themselves. I mean that. To be fair, that is old traditions. That is not anything
true.
new, but that is
Right.
also kind of we don't. Yeah.
So let's call it a flat 0.
Okay. Rolling flat is a 7.
You pick 1. Forget a ritual, add a new condition to all your rituals, gain need crops, gain need attunement, or commit yourself to overthrowing the arbiter.
I think that the cult has not really enjoyed their fate in the last couple of years, and so I think that the cult is going to throw itself behind overthrowing the arbiter.
Absolutely, which means next project would be insurrection. We'll come to what that means in a second. Ziv, how did you manage the land? Tend and care for it, or neglected and became estranged from it?
I mean, the land, maybe not great. I exploited its forests and
There is that. Yeah. So how did you treat the spirits? +1 if you sought out their company and formed personal connections. -1 if you feared them or used them as tools.
mm,
Neutral is also an option.
I think neutral.
Okay. And then lastly, how has your house come together? +1 if you rediscovered old customs or found new ones. -1 if you spurned your community or descended into infighting.
Customers found new ones. I don't. Probably neutral again on that one.
Okay, so you were rolling with a -1.
That's a 4.
That is a 4. Pick 2. So forget a ritual, add a new condition to rituals, gain need crops, gain need attunement, commit yourself to overthrowing the arbiter.
Yeah, I think it makes sense if the haunting comes back again, and because we didn't really address it that well. And sure, we can throw in with overthrowing the arbiter.
Excellent. How long do you think the span is that happens here? Are we a year down the line? Are we a couple of years down the line? Is it longer following the loss to Drago and the feather blight in the south? Thoughts on that, David? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking years would be interesting.
Sam, what do you think?
I also think that a couple of years would be interesting. I don't know that I would go a whole decade, but a couple of years.
Okay. So let's say 3 or 4 years. Are you good with that, Ziv?
Sounds good.
Okay. So the land is turned upon itself. Brother fights against brother. Armies march through pastures and villages, and strange plagues sweep through the populace. This will only end with the death of the rebels or the arbiter. This is a particular playbook. I'll get the notes on this down here. It's called a counter insurrection, though in the other place it's called insurrection. So the land is turned upon itself. We're going to answer some questions here. First, David, what was the flashpoint that has started this civil war?
Where are we looking?
Oh, so this is under counter insurrection. I'm going through the foundation of that on that project, and there are a set of questions that we asked to kind of set things up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it. Oh, so I'm not choosing from a list, just whatever. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the flashpoint? What do you think happened that finally kicked all of this out or off?
Man, it's a civil war. I think. Well, we had all this problems going on right in the center. I think. Yeah, who was fighting over the Rich Veins area? That was the Red Forest and the merchants, right?
Well, technically, the envoys were battling for that particular one.
Oh, interesting. All right, I think someone claims that. Someone that wasn't approved or shouldn't have, perhaps.
Who was it who claimed it?
Oh, wait. If I don't know, Brian, you can correct or veto this if you want, but maybe it's a drink your milkshake situation or something, and they set up stuff and they realize, oh, the envoys have already mined this years ago. Probably they knew about it, I think a decade ago at this point. It's like everything that was worth value here had been mined and shipped to UMOT like a long time ago.
Okay. Sam, we know that the envoys and your people are on the side of the rebels. Which other important faction has taken the side of the rebels?
Um, I think that I'm going to offer two.
Sure.
I think it would make sense for the horse lords to kind of rebel, especially after how badly they were decimated at the end of the war. They saw that the Arbiter didn't like protect them, but left them to die on the front lines while the rest of this war was happening. The other one is we could have just thrown in with the Kingdom of Drago, and this could be a big long continuation of the last war. And
Let's go with the horse lords, because I've got a place for Drago in a later question. If that's okay?
Yeah, no, that's cool.
So we know on the rebel side is the Cult of the Kraken, the envoys, and the horse lords. Ziv, who has already been executed by the Arbiter?
Just looking at our NPC list, is there anybody? I'm trying to think who we've seen that it would make sense.
There are a lot of people there who could pluck at various heartstrings.
Yeah. What happened?
While you're thinking, can I amend my previous answer? Because I was thinking about it, and I think that it makes more sense for the people of the Red Forest.
Okay, yeah.
Because they were fighting the merchants, and the merchants have been very much on the side of the Arbiter, and maybe that's more of a vengeance against the Compact of the Roads type thing. Plus, they want their autonomy, and they haven't been getting it.
The Keepers of the Old Runes are tied to that establishment. They are for the overthrow of the present regime.
Yeah, I don't know. Who out here makes sense?
you want to pass on that?
I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to.
Who do you think, in the anger and madness, the Arbiter would execute when a revolution breaks out?
I guess I'll say Gia.
So Gia, essentially the person who was managing the rebellion, is the person who gets executed. So essentially we have a wild kind of leaderless rebellion going on right now. I'm going to tick the turmoil up one on that, I think. So let me come to Stonia. Stonia, rebellion has broken out. Your friends, people that you know, have joined sides against the Arbiter. Ziv, his people, Radoy, their people, but also these people of the Red Forest who no particular love for. Where do we see Stonia? What is the scene that we have of her in, as the fires have really started to burn brightly of this war? Let me ask you this: does Stonia support the Arbiter in her heart?
Yeah, I think she is a very I guess tragically torn between the Arbiter, who she has respect for kind of ending this first turmoil, but also her kind of childhood friend here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she has almost no loyalty to the Keepers at this point, but she has almost equal tug from the runes that she feels are being damaged, especially by this war. So
where do we see her? Is she, when our scene comes in, are you with the Keepers or are you somewhere else?
Oh yeah, it's such a interesting question. I also feel like it wouldn't be too interesting for me to be like, well, I'm going to go against everybody else playing here. So I think she's maybe ironically acting in like an ambassador kind of role. Like, oh, I'm a keeper, like almost like I'm the Red Cross. I'm just here to learn.
Okay. So that kind of gives a frame of where she's at. We'll come back and look at what we want to do move wise off of that. I just want to check in. Radoy, when the camera comes to you, where do we see you?
Radoy, I think is I think this is the year, the every 7th year that all the great captains of the cult of the Kraken come together for a great meeting. This one could not have been better timed as to try and rally ourselves for this rebellion. And the image is just terrible with his head, Radoy with his head in his hands as everyone around him is just shouting and screaming and pointing fingers at each other. I think there's like 2 people in the back having a fist fight.
And yeah, you are at that. Does Radoy just look stressed? Is Radoy just waiting for his moment?
I think Radoy has no particular love of the Arbiter, but also is very pragmatic about this whole thing. He's in it for the money. He's in it to like raid some villages, press gang some new shipmates, and get some like get out of it ahead. Um, but there are tempers flying. There are people kind of up in arms about this, and so he's just trying to weather the storm at this point.
Awesome. And Ziv, where do we see you, given that you have turned against the Arbiter?
I think aboard their boat. It's a good idea to stay mobile.
Your
Right
treasure
now.
ship. We see you on the rivers and the shoreline, probably calling on the Kraken to provide for you. So that gives us a sense of the position here. Let's look at house or personal moves then. Stonia, what is it that the keepers of the old rooms want to do? Where are they at needs and surplus wise?
Oh, we are very needy right now. My constant battle of getting to positive mood has not gone well, losing a war. So I'm at -3.
At -3.
Yeah, I think I think especially as Stonia maybe has gotten more power within the keepers, she's really pushing to figure out this attunement thing. And I think the if she is an elder, like in that level, like at least the elders, everyone that's not her, is looking for prestige. So almost kind of counter, I don't know, motives here. They're trying to say or prove themselves useful to the Arbiter as much as possible.
So does this feel like trying to read the wind to figure out how to go about this? Or do you think you already know what needs to be done?
Let's see if I remember the rules correctly by now, playing for what, 3 months. I think the next step would be claiming by force, right?
Well, so we can do it claim by force right away. You'll be using harsh measures to try and gain that. On the other hand, read the wind is a chance to do it with a little more subtlety, learn how to do it, but it takes more time, of course.
Yeah, I feel time is not a resource they have, much like every other resource. I think.
Sure. So where is the magic that the keepers would reach out to seize?
Yeah, I feel like, especially given the state of affairs here, I think if I remember correctly, the Red Forest said, "Oh, if you send anyone here again, we'll kill them on sight." And now that there's a war here, they're like, "What better time?" They seem distracted. Let's heal this. What was it? The forest and like the beast runes.
Yeah. Then when you direct your house to seize or maintain control of a resource, roll plus grasp.
All right. So just a straight roll for me. That's fine. Nope. 6.
So that is a 6. When you send your forces in, what happens? what goes against the keepers?
I think maybe the people of the forest, right? Maybe are distracted. They have their sights set north, but these were creatures aren't. They're still there.
Yeah, if you arrive hoping to take advantage of the fact that these people who are manipulating the runes are elsewhere and distracted, but all of those were creatures that have been in hiding for so long, this is where they were.
Yeah, and who would have thought that the thing that kind of made their birth, they would be reluctant to give up? Weird.
So you're going to need recruits, but you already have that, and we don't mark it because you actually fall into crisis.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say.
So now we'll trigger the fall into crisis move, which basically is, I believe, someone takes advantage of your weakness, you lose an important alliance or territory. You can erase a need. Well, you erase a need that you would have, either the one you just got or one of the existing ones, and then you have to pick one from the list of fall into crisis. Here, I'll grab this. Put in the text too. What do you think occurs?
Well, let's see. I don't really have any alliances or territory to speak of, but
oh, you have territory.
Oh, just the one though. That could be interesting if we lost the library. Oh, is that worth it? That could be. I mean, it's the finale. Yeah, that sounds cool. Yeah.
So, what do we see on screen? What are the visuals as the library is taken? I mean, do they seize it for themselves? Do they burn it to the ground? What is it?
I feel like maybe to paint the arbiter worse, maybe the arbiter is the one who seizes it, just like, all right, you know what, you folks have to deal with these runes more. Obviously you're not focusing on that enough. We need to seize the histories that you've been guarding. You need to put all your focus into guarding these runes instead.
Absolutely. And they seize control of that. So a major settlement does not fall. It does not fall into enemy control. It falls into the arbiter's control. So that does not increase the doom track on that. But I imagine that Stonia, has no home at this point. Let us come to Radoy. Sam, what is it that the Kraken wants to do?
So the Kraken has been infighting a little bit, but the one thing that everybody can agree on is that we need more recruits. We need more people, and so I think this goes. I think that some of the captains have taken to doing the usual like raiding cities and things, but I think that there are some smarter captains who have remembered that we kind of gave a lot of these port cities over to the Compact of the Roads.
Mm-hmm.
And they decide we're just going to take them back because everybody there is already pretty much those cities are old Kraken strongholds, and the older members of the community are still very loyal to us, and so those should be easy.
So let's have you claim by force as your ships ride into these places.
So I have influence over the compact, and one
Ooh.
of the options for call in a debt is to just take a surplus from them.
Absolutely. So you can seize that. How do we want to read that as what surplus you gain?
I was hoping that it would be recruits.
Yeah.
If a player house, if a player house refuses your debt, okay.
No, you call in that debt, and they're forced to agree.
Cool. Okay.
So you'll be able to eliminate that need, and essentially you turn them out from the places that they had held, and primarily held because you were assisting them in the management of those places.
Mhm.
Would you consider that a key settlement?
I think I don't think it's one settlement. I think it's a couple of key like port cities on the northern coast, and
Sure.
so
Well, we'll put a tick on the boom track. Ziv, let's come back to the envoys. How are you dealing with this rebellion? Especially that you know the keepers have attacked one of your allies.
Yeah. Um, um, hmm. Well, when we needed recruits before, we got people of the Red Forest. I wonder if we can't.
Go and attempt to.
Yeah, try to bring in.
That feels like it could be. We did that with subterfuge before. Stonia did that to gain those recruits that were in the mountains. Do you want to try that?
Sure.
So who goes to speak with them? Is it you? Do you go to the Red Forest, the place that chased you out before, or do you send someone?
No, I think Ziv would go. I'm trying to remember who. Ziv had contact with someone who. I don't remember. I don't remember who it was.
I think a lot of the people he had contact with have fallen away. I mean, they joined your people, and now you're kind of on the run, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I think Ziv would go themselves too.
And you go, and they will invite you to meet them in what is very clearly a charnel ground with the bodies of the keepers of the old runes strewn across the forest there, and the werefolk there. And they do this to absolutely make an impression. And let's I think you are going, maybe this is find common ground as a character move. What do you think of that?
Okay, so it says
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So what are you offering them? That they would send their troops to aid you who took people from our woods before.
Um,
Oh, you have something to
Maybe.
suggest, Sam?
I was going to suggest that we have established this set of like werebears that live in the far north, that maybe you could offer a connection or a passage to.
Ooh, that's interesting.
I mean, yeah, I'm not.
Well,
I mean,
let's roll and see what happens, and then let's figure out what the maybe
Okay.
the choices will shape what's going to come out here. So let's have you roll.
So that's a 9.
That is a 9. So they will say, we will do this on 2 conditions. You will promise that the woods will have full autonomy and Mark swear an oath should this rebellion come to pass. Does that one part seem fair?
What was the second part?
That's just the first part. I haven't gotten to
No,
the second part.
the forest will have autonomy, and
Basically that they want that if the rebellion succeeds, they want the Red Force to be completely autonomous.
I don't know that Civ has the power to grant that.
So that's just their first thing. That if this is the terms that they're asking for. Second thing is they say is this: we know that your son trained with the one who set light to the tinder of this. To join our 2 forces together, we will make your son one of us. And then we will serve at your behest because we know that you will have our best interests at heart.
Yeah. I don't know that Zib knows enough about them to agree to that right off the bat, and I don't know that Zib has the authority to say grant the Red Forest. I mean, he
may not have the authority, but they're asking just for your word.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't think Zib can.
So I think we see Ziv struggle with this, and They look and they say, then go. You will have no troops from us if you cannot do this little thing. We will have the forest for our own, regardless of what you promise. Let us return back to Stonia. The library held, taken by the arbiter. The blood of your warriors on the ground for no reason. What do we see of the keepers at that point?
Yeah. So here's a question: who's kind of the leader of the rebellion?
There is no leader anymore.
There is no leader. The shadow guy.
Right? He was killed just a couple months ago. There's no one, but the Kraken's going to keep fighting. The envoys, they have no choice, and the Red Force are already at war. Plus Drago in the south, they still keep looking hungrily up, so they're certainly pushing.
Yeah, I guess she would. Feel she would seek out either the Arbiter or Ziv. So I feel Ziv would be the more interesting choice here.
So I think, Ziv, when you return back from that meeting, at a kind of a hidden place, at a kind of neutral place, because you have to make your way carefully through the land. But I think that we see your son, and he comes to you and says, Father, Stonia is here. Do you wish me to, or do you wish to speak with her?
No, I'll speak with her.
Oh,
Of course.
He puts his blade away. Stonia, you're brought in to see Ziv. These are more threadbare, on the road quarters than you've been in before, and you can see that certainly that Ziv's brow is clouded. Or does that show? I mean, Ziv, what does it mean? Would Stonia know the disappointment, or are you still poker faced?
Stonia's known Ziv a long time, so I think, yeah, I think it shows.
Stonia, what do you say?
I think the first thing she says is, Ziv, I told you at Bojadar. Come on. What's happening here? I think I guess she's already, or no, she was standing and she just like flops over in whatever chair is nearby, just like exhausted. Just like, what's happening here? Who's in control? Does anyone have a plan? What are you fighting for?
I would fight to see this land have the leader it deserves if it can produce one.
These people you're fighting with haven't even produced a leader for themselves.
They better hope that one rises to the occasion, I suppose.
And I don't know, maybe she straightens herself up a little more and just like, Who would you propose?
Uh,
maybe Sophia.
it wouldn't be for me to say. And I supported the Arbiter in her time, so perhaps my judgment isn't what I thought.
Well, I wouldn't argue with you there, but there is someone who has been working at politics their entire life, has spent the majority of their time in the land, although always seeing beyond the borders. And I don't know. Would you take that? Is there anyone else we can think of?
Um, gosh, is there?
Let me let you two chew on that, and let me come to Sam. Let's do a move there, and then we'll kind of check back in on that. Radoy, what do we see of you, and what do we see of your house now?
I think that maybe Radoy, maybe some of the other more zealous captains who have something at stake here came up with a plan to if I can find the map. Is First Throne on the coast or is it inland?
It is on the coast.
Okay, so I think that a couple of people have come up with this very daring, very ambitious plan to raid and capture the First Throne.
The captains are talking, and someone says, "What's our end game? If we take it, what do we do?"
I think the plan is to use it as a launching point, because we have been stymied this entire time of we can't get any foothold inland. We can't kind of reach into the continent to affect anything, and our allies, the Umotes, are similarly locked into their islands, and so this would provide us a strong foothold that with good access to the interior of the continent.
And I think there's definitely that moment amongst the captains when they're all, every one of them is looking at one another, and every one of them is thinking, and then maybe I could be the arbiter.
Maybe I could sit on that throne.
Yeah. The person who might have seized it, the person who had power, is dead. If the arbiter is gone, then who's to say? I mean, we could just have the coast. They can have all their inland stuff. That seems perfect. So let's look. I forget, do you have a house move for raiding settlements?
When you seize by force a coastal settlement, you pick one. You can quickly move any surplus found back onto your boats. The settlement civilians dare not fight back, or you're able to disarm their defenses before striking. It's the move that I have. And so I think that this is maybe that last one, like that little bit of subterfuge that we kind of got into, the the Umoto Alliance are much better at this than we are, but we've kind of like tapped into their political spy network
Mhm.
and have disabled some of the city's defenses before we move in.
And it's unexpected. It is the most fortified of the bays. It is protected. So when you sail in to seize it by force, and again, there is no roll then. But what do you want to do with that? Let's say you do seize control of it. What is the move or the gesture that generates for your household? Does it generate a surplus? Does it trigger something else? What do you think? That's a pretty symbolic action.
Yeah. I don't know that it necessarily gives us a surplus here. I am trying to bump up the insurrection clock.
Oh yeah, that will definitely climb another tick as you seize that.
And then that also gives us maybe some kind of leverage on the other people in this alliance, as saying like we have the throne, so we're kind of in control here, and so
That's really interesting. So yeah, I think that
everybody else is talking about who's going to lead the rebellion while we're out fighting it.
I think you can gain influence on two factions. Choose which two.
I think this is definitely influence on the envoys and the Red Forest.
Yeah. And I think that we cut as Ambassador Ziv, Stonia, you're talking there, and your son comes in. Father, the Kraken have seized First Throne. They swept through the defenses. There were no protections. They've taken the whole city. They hold it. They've co-opted the locals. They have it in their grasp.
That's good. That's a sign that we're that much closer to this being over.
Do you wish one of the Kraken to sit on the throne? And then he kind of hesitates because he looks over and he realizes Stonia is part of the keepers of the old ruins who are not part of this alliance.
Mm-hmm. Not yet.
And I think she almost pretends that she didn't hear anything and just says, "Oh no, looking, you're such a strapping young lad now. How old are you?"
I'm 23 years of age.
23. And she looks at Ziv. Married?
Not yet.
Interesting. And almost like to herself under her breath. For more, hopefully, not so Gnome can hear it, but mostly to Ziv. Just like, an unmarried son is a very politically strong asset to have. Interesting.
Noma says, if you wish, I know ways to get into the walls. First time we could meet with one of the captains.
I think that's probably where I belong.
And Lady Stonia?
Oh, well, if you're offering, I would love the opportunity to record this for history.
I think you should also think about where the keepers can best serve the land in this.
Well, the keepers can only serve the land once this political infighting's done. Whoever brings stability, I promise you, the keepers will be behind them.
And that's a good note to cut to Radoy. Do you think you're a captain who, in the taking of the city, is celebrating, is plotting, is being careful? What in the wake of this victory? What is Radoy's attitude?
Radoy is one of the less scrupulous captains. I think there's definitely a lot of partying, a lot of celebrations, not a lot of respect for the citizens. The cult of the Kraken are not particularly known for their lenience towards the cities that they take.
Yeah. But your first mate arrives as you're kind of finishing off your revels and says, "Captain Radoy."
Yes.
Lady Stonia of the Keepers. She is here with an entourage that wish to meet with you.
A what?
Entourage.
An elephant?
The entourage.
Oh.
Entourage?
Yeah.
Say it too many times. It sounds weird.
Okay. And I think he like reaches into a flask into his pocket and pulls out this like very small flask and just takes a swig and like grimaces, puts it back in his pocket. All right. And I think that everybody around here would know there's like this old superstition that you can sober up quick by drinking salt water.
Oh.
And so he's trying to make himself at least somewhat presentable for Stonia.
And I think we cut to you arriving in some nobleman's commandeered house. And you will arrive and you will see Stonia is there, but she's accompanied by Ambassador Ziv and a couple of others. And you will see Radoy, who has definitely been enjoying the victory, right?
And I think I smack my first mate on the shoulder and like, you didn't tell me that the ambassador would be here too. I must apologize. It's been a while, Ziv. How have you been? Have you come to enjoy the fruits of our victory? Pointedly kind of ignoring Sonia just to start.
No, I think there'll be time enough to enjoy ourselves when the job is truly done.
The old stick in the mud. I expect nothing less of you. And Stonia, have you come to join the party?
Well, I'm never going to turn that down, but I'm technically here on business.
Have you come to join the party? And he's like winking at you.
I think she looks around confused, like, sure.
Are you? Yeah. I'm also trying to talk business. I'm not doing a very good job of it.
I don't think the keepers are ready to commit to the
Thank
celebration.
you. He got
entirely.
it. Okay. I'm sorry. Maybe we continue this talk tomorrow? Tomorrow good? I guess Stonia, if you want to come and join us, we've we've got a lot of merriment going on, but I know Ziv is too much of a buddy-duddy to.
Oh yeah, she's okay with that for sure.
And if we swipe forward to a slightly hungover, perhaps more formally attired Radoy, because of the captains that were here, they came to you.
Yeah, and I think it's the same. Like, if anything, his dress has gotten gaudier, but it's still like the hard leathers and the sealskins, but everything is very intricately etched, and everything is buttons and tacks, and so he's sitting in this chair with a mug of what looks like water. It might be water. You're not sure. In front of him. And are we in that same kind of noble's house, or are we in some like part of the keep itself as like
Yeah.
a signifier?
I like that. Yeah, so you found a place, part of the keep, part of the defenses raised up, so you have a view. So it very much makes a statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think is the idea we're getting down to business then?
Yeah, I think this is the business talk.
So yeah, I think Sonia sits down at this table or whatever we're sitting at, and she just has this like little like box in front of her that she brought with her and never opened. Who knows what that's about? But she's like, well, Captain, I came to talk to Ziv a couple days ago, and I have the same question for you. What's happening here? What's the plan after everything's done?
Are you talking about the onslaught of the taking of the keep? Because we did that bit. Or are you talking about the rebellion in general?
The whole rebellion. If the Arbiter's gone, who's going to be the next one?
Well, it's certainly not going to be me. I'll tell you that much. That's way too much responsibility. But I'm sure there are plenty of captains or Kraken folk that would jump at the chance. I know old Failed has been tired of his post for years and would love a chance to be on land for a little bit.
Well, a lot of them look to
they're
you.
all the same. A lot of them look at me. Why are they looking at me? Tell them to go look somewhere else.
A great quality in a leader is the desire not to lead.
You and your parables and proverbs and everything else you do. If I'm going to be arbiter, then this keep is turning into a boat, and we're having the freaking everything is happening out. I can't talk. It hurts. We are going to restructure this place and run it from sea, and it's going to be a floating fortress.
She's like, oh,
that's
God.
not going to happen, because
He's like,
that's a stupid idea, and everybody knows it's a stupid idea, and I get laughed at.
Well, this is the most successful rudderless operation I've ever seen. I came here with this present for the leader, and to my knowledge, the two most qualified people are in this room with me, both of them denying the role. She looks at Ziv, like shrugging, like,
I think Radoy would wave at Ziv, like, He's much more the political type than I am. If you want a
But-
general or a captain at arms or an admiral, then sure, whatever. But I can fight. I'm a soldier. I'm a captain.
And so are all the captains. I don't know that any of them are what this land needs. If the three very capable individuals in this room can think this through properly, maybe we can find someone.
I've already pointed at you. And Stoinia also seems to be pointing at you.
You have that very marriageable son. You do have that very strong ally to the far north. The Alliance is always looking for new allies, right?
Showing the citizens that you can bring the Umar Alliance down to protect them from Drago would be a pretty easy way to swallow the pill of having a foreigner be our arbiter.
Would the keepers of the old runes support something like this?
If you enshrine their ability to keep the library and make sure that we can stay out of politics, unlike the older elders decided to do, and work on reattuning these runes, I promise you, if or I will make sure that the keepers follow, and I'll follow you no matter what.
Well,
What do you say?
I suppose we are agreed then.
Well, in that case, and she like pushes this box over to you. She's like, this is what I came to give you originally. This is something that the keepers have been holding for generations. Well, since session 0, in fact. I think she very dramatically like opens it like toward you, and like this like light comes out of it. And I think it's this well, it's specifically a fist-sized pearl that glows, and I think it's like wrapped in like silks or something. And she unfolds, or uncovers it, and she's like, "This is the what we call the sun's daughter. This was the first rune that we found. It's the rune of the sun. I'm not sure exactly what we could do with it, but lots of things depend on the sun. I'm sure we can find creative ways to turn the tide of the war with this." Consider it my first gift for the new arbiter.
And let me move to some questions to kind of settle the matter. Brian, what faction that has not been pitched in to your side comes over to turn the tide, to shift things in your favor?
Okay, and not the keepers of the old runes.
Right.
How about the Church of Uncreated Fire?
So surprisingly, with the movement of the keepers over the church finds itself having to match the keepers step for step, and pitches their efforts in on the side. Stoinia, which faction of the non-rebellion is annihilated?
Let's see, who was on that team. I think the old nobility, probably, right? And the compact of the roads.
Okay, so both the sort of the merchant class and the nobility that bet everything
Oh,
on
man.
supporting the arbiter find themselves ground under the wheels of progress. Radoy, Sam, how does the arbiter die, if they do die?
I don't think that it's a ceremonious thing. I think that it's a almost a I think it's the arbiter's forces get kind of backed farther and farther into the south as the Umotes and the Kraken kind of come in from the northeast, and so at the end of it, they basically try and flee into Drago, hoping that they can find some refuge, and they don't find any refuge.
They don't, and they have to pass through the blight, and I imagine that they're lost in that. Legend has it that the ghosts themselves ran them down, but no one knows exactly what happened. So, Ziv, what is the epilogue for you? Do you take the throne? Does your son take the throne?
My son is an interesting option. I think maybe my son, because he is half, born of people of this land.
And he's been trained in political machinations and murder by one of the experts. Do you think he's a good ruler? And by you, I mean, does Ziv think he's a good ruler?
I mean, when he takes my advice, which is most of the time, it's very good advice.
So do you then move to the palace? Do you return your old lands? Where do we see you in our sort of last scenes? Do you return to Umote?
I mean, I think Ziv does retire as ambassador, and probably goes back and forth, a year in Umote and then a year back here, and
Travels back and forth. Stoinia, what is your epilogue? What do we see of you in the aftermath of this?
Yeah, I think she definitely becomes an elder. I think probably because the other elders were probably killed or died escaping, and she's the only one that's really recognizable to most people. So it's an easy campaign for her to win. And then when she gets the library back, probably too. And her whole thing is, I think she kind of takes a step back. Oh, she probably delightfully gives the church over all of the ceremonial stuff that they had. Just like, absolutely, take them all. We don't need any of them. We actually don't even come to the library unless you want to learn. Like, don't even talk to us, new arbiter, my friend. And I think she dedicates like the rest of her time to kind of understanding these runes and stuff. And I feel like I think if we go really far with the epilogue, I think she might heal like a couple, and then when she goes to the one like the beasts and farce ones, the ones that kind of started the lycanthropes, she kind of realizes, wait, this spawned kind of a whole new type of people, even though they might be dangerous or wild. These are still people. Sometimes runes can be changed. Some good can come of it.
Do you fix the bird runes, or is that an intractable problem?
I feel like she probably does eventually, but it still always carries that because that's where the arbiter died.
Mm-hmm. You ameliorate the problem, but don't completely solve it. Okay.
Oh, I think maybe like crows or ravens always stay there no matter what. Like that's the last bird that like just never leaves.
Perfect. Sam, Radoy, what do we see for your epilogue?
I think that Radoy probably gives up the ways of the Kraken. The life of an ambassador is much more his style. The big pump, the bright clothes, the being able to like the traveling around, and I think he's one of the earlier ambassadors who's willing to kind of do negotiations at sword point type of a character. And so I think maybe we see him again on the prow of a ship, but then now the ship is clad in the new color, the new regalia of the new arbiter, and we're sailing into some Umot port or something like that to do negotiations.
Very nice. And that's our conclusion. That's our game. If you don't mind, I'd just like to take a couple minutes to a quick stars and thoughts. Let's do stars first. To do a quick go around, and then some thoughts on play, story, those kinds of things. Brian, is it okay if I start with you, stars wise?
Sure, because I can never think of good ones anyway. But I mean, other than just say stars all around, this is really fun. Really, enjoyed watching this land we just made up get so complicated and deep. Yeah, it was really cool.
David, stars?
Yeah, Brian, our scenes this time were, I thought, especially fun for me. Just playing on that, I think offhanded thing, like, oh, maybe we grew up together. I'm like, yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Never really touched on it. And then spent the entire session basically touching on it this time. But that was especially the first one, I think, when she was trying to warn him, I thought, or them, was really, I thought, fun to do. And I really appreciate it. I'm like, oh, you should just be leader. And they were like, I don't know, I got to think about this. And it kind of added a lot of like drama and tension to the last, I don't know, like half hour, however long we're talking about it. And I think, I want to say it was Sam, you were like, you know what, we're just going to go against the arbiter. Let's just do it. And kind of started this whole thing. I'm like, oh, I can't believe you're doing that. I'm like, wait, it's the finale. Of course you did. Why didn't I do that? It was perfect.
Sam?
Yeah, I had a great time. I really enjoyed playing Radoy. That was really fun to just pull in a new character, and I feel like he fit pretty well. I really enjoyed having the scenes with Stonia and that whole bar scene at the beginning was really, really good. I enjoyed all of that. Even though like all the politics and machinations were you guys, I enjoyed being the weird kind of like tag along that you guys had to try and keep the secrets away from. That was really fun to play. Also, I think we did a better like pick the new king than Game of Thrones did, so I'm very happy about that. I feel like ours made a lot more sense and it was really good. So kudos to us. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was fun.
I want to say, stars, thank you for being flexible. In, we could see we had a bunch of the mechanical things today that we kind of went through as processes, and all of you were very good about then integrating that. And of course, I'm hard framing and moving us along, and I appreciate everybody being flexible about that. So thank you very much for doing that. I'll mention some thoughts that I had, and we'll kind of go back Catan style. One of the things I really like Rudoy, and I feel so bad that we missed last session. I would have liked to have had 2 sessions to get him on the table and give that character a chance to breathe. I thought you brought a lot to the table in that, but I wish that. This is a game with a lot of moving parts, and like the Arbiter has some moves that I always forget to bring to bear. It's one of the things because I'm juggling a lot of stuff, and there are a couple of points where the Arbiter's in particular move I could have brought to bear throughout the game, and I always forget about it because they've got one. If somebody fails in essentially a seize by force, they can come in and intervene and kind of take control of the situation, which would have changed things in several places. But I always forget about that because I'm trying to juggle what all the players can do. And it is a thing is this is a game where you have a lot of moves that has very specific instances, and if you're not leaning into those, then sometimes they get hard to trigger, and you're going for more general moves. And it is it can be a thing. And like there are a couple of general moves we didn't use a duel, and we didn't do an open field battle. Those are 2 big mechanical moves that we never got in play. So just a few thoughts about that. I wish there were a couple more project books too, but Sam, thoughts having had a chance to play through this?
Yeah. Before that, I remembered another star to Lowell for like timing everything, getting everything to conclude at like the perfect time, and the hard framing that you did got us right on track, and you did a really good job with that. So
thank you.
for that. Thoughts on the game? I enjoyed it. This is the first time I've played a legacy system, and so I had a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying the different levels. I was actually listening to the Stop Hack and Roll podcast today. They did an episode in February where they spent the whole time talking about what if you had like story playbooks and playbooks that were like, here's the hero's journey as a playbook, and you do a thing. And I was like, oh, that sounds an awful lot like these projects from Legacy.
Oh, yeah.
That's the almost the same kind of thing. And then the other thing that I was thinking, like, I wish there was a little bit more complexity in the house and less complexity on the moves. So instead of like a million basic moves, give the house, like have the Cult of the Kraken have a mechanic that is just the Kraken thing, or like the Keepers of the Old Runes would get like almost like a Doom track from Masks, where you can do these big powerful rune magics, but every time you do it corrupts the world a little bit or something like that.
That's really interesting. Sherry said something similar, that she would like, flavored house versions of some moves or results that could be added in to change up and make it more distinct.
Yeah, but then if you also simplify the basic moves, that keeps the total complexity at about the same level and lets people have a little bit more customized play, I think. But I really enjoyed it. I had a
good
time.
David, thoughts?
Yeah, this was incredibly fun. I think goes without saying. I think especially props to you again, Lowell, because I feel like especially these are kind of tricky because you're playing like 2 playbooks at the same time almost, and I feel it often went over my head, especially the house moves. Like I can definitely appreciate you saying I had so much stuff to keep track of. I'm like, as a player, I feel like I'm keeping track of way more than I usually am in these like PBTA games, especially. And I was kind of just leaning very heavily on I'm just gonna keep playing, and if something triggers, someone will say something, hopefully, because I'm not really aiming for any trigger, which I'm sure made your job even harder. But you definitely did it expertly, and the pacing, like Sam just said, was always perfect.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Good, good. Brian, thoughts on the system?
Yeah, I when I made Ziv, I was like, oh, I'm the envoys, I'll be the ambassador. That's keeps it simple because it's like, oh yeah, like that's their whole thing is like they're, you know, the ambassadors from the other land. But then in play, I realized like, oh, I have a character who's really going to be thinking about all the implications of all the things they're doing, and so like I should at least kind of be aware. And so yeah, I was trying to keep track of all those things and like to really get in Ziv's head, like what would their plan be and what would they be doing, and like Ziv's a character who would have run through this conversation in their head before actually getting there and known exactly what the plan was. And it's like I'm going to do my best to fake that because I'm not that I'm constantly being, oh yeah, shoot, I should have thought about that, right? Okay. But yeah, so yeah, it was a lot of things to track. I mean, I think for the most part, all those, you know, that effort I put in to try to track those things was well spent, which means the system is kind of working how it's supposed to be, because it made me, you know, take actions that I think led in good directions. So, and I think the system deserve while it takes some effort, the system deserves some credit for it seems to be doing what it's supposed to be doing as far as that goes, or at least it did for me.
Good. I'm glad. One of the things is the real revolution, I think, while there's this whole simplification, the real revolution in design between legacy and this is we have a framework, a thematic framework, rather than it just being post-apocalyptic, whatever. And the arbiter as a figure that everybody has to deal with. Like there is somebody that can contest against, and that gives you some agenda and things like that. I think those two things really make this a very strong game. Thank you all for playing. Brian, David, thank you for playing all the way through. Sam, thank you for coming here in the second half of this. It is very much appreciated. I had a great time doing this, and I hope to play with all of you again soon. I'm going to stop the recording.